ask me about.
Yeah. So yeah, so pretty much we was the last place from from the last section that ended. We was going into necessarily your feet work, um, coming across everybody that's running up and down. Halsey, Troop. We was talking about Roshan, aka Ski Bashment. So now, again, another person who would give you your flowers that you brought up was that I spoke to before the new year would come in was Prince, aka Peanut from One Love. And he necessarily and the way that he said it was just like, oh, oh, you talk about the guy with the feet. So a lot of people recognize you for your feet versus, I mean, the content that you shared with a lot of the dance community and abroad, you have more than feet. Overall, is like it seemed like your feet game must have been something that cemented and really sat on people's like mind. Like if they remember you for something, it's like, yo, his feet was dirty. And I believe a lot of people will come to even recognize that with you putting out a lot of content to just necessarily refresh people's thoughts that know you and people that will come to know you. So in the midst of that, what was it like running across a person like Prince and his whole crew? What was that clashing like if it took place? Because for what I understand, they was big in your streets of Brooklyn.
I ain't even go front. Yo, it's crazy because at that time, like when I first met Prince, like I told you early on, it was underneath the high, like it was just this light skin. I mean, son, at that time he was yellow, so you know what I mean. Like light skinned dude, box braids, like he had he had a whole entourage, like he had a whole crew. So it's like, but they was one of the first guys that I knew, like they had a lot of guys and they had women. So it's like they had a whole crowd. So it's like, but I ain't know at first because in the beginning, it's like I met them and it was like the high is just regular. So you thinking they regular people from all over the neighborhood, and they do, but it's like, but when they left, it's like, oh shit, they brought all them people from across the tracks. And at that time, I wasn't going across the tracks like that in the beginning. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, they not from around here. And then also they brought a different platform to the stage. Like when we met each other, it was like they had something different, and we had our way of dancing. Like at that time, that's when they had the Crown Heights style and the Bedstuy style. So you see what
Okay.
I'm saying? So when I first met him, he was, he definitely was competition. Like he definitely he was flea at that time. Like we young dudes too, so it's like at that time it was like Tommy Polo, stuff like that. So it's like Berg was picking up too, but like I said, like Berg ain't coming to that fall. So it's like this is like midsummer going into the fall.
Well,
So
yeah.
when I first met them, we battled on top of like behind the stages. This guy, he used to be, I don't know if he was a custodian or he was one of the people that work for for the high. So when school back in session, a couple weeks before school opened up, they started to clean up the school, janitor work, all that. So I guess he was one of these guys that had he had a big DJ system
Mm.
as like a sound in his truck. So he used to like wash, clean up his truck, stuff like that. And a lot of people started to like go around and start to be involved with it because he started to have like events like food, stuff like that. Then it turned out to he was a DJ. So it was this one summer, and like I said, this was like 97,
Okay.
97. That's when everybody around the neighborhood knew about, them having events underneath the high. So it was this one particular, summer event, whatever the case may be. Gordon went up there, had to mention my boy, like I said, he went up there on the stage. So when he went up on the stage, everybody already knew him from the start, whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? So boom, I get up on the stage. So at that time, so it's like we kind of get attention of the stage. Then that's when you get Prince coming on the stage. So now it's like, who the fuck? Like, excuse my language, but we like, who is like he came on the stage for real. Like him and Benny came on the stage.
Mm.
So it was like, who that? And then they had Blue with him. Shout out to Blue too, man. But that's my guy. But yeah. So when they came on the stage, it was like, oh, like you know what I mean. But they was bringing it, so it's like, okay, so we going back and forth. We going back and forth. So it went to the point that the crowd was just going crazy. Like, you know how the crowd they start to get small, stuff like that. Then it's like they had to open it up and get small, open it back up. Then it got to the point it was just, that was a good part of history as in my first time as in actually we was battling. So it was like it was dope or whatever the case may be. Then at that time, like I said, dealing with my feet work, um I just felt like I said, at that time, the heel toe was a major feet work structure before, like I said, the gliding and the airwalking and all that. The airwalk, like all you had back then was basically heel toe. So it was like who could do the heel toe the best? Like, who could be light on your feet? Because the heel toe, it could be a light thing and it could look like, so you have to do all types of like mixes and feet control. That was the major thing that I understood and I knew, like I said before, people wasn't too much on their feet. So,
Mm,
so mention with Albert, what I'm saying, he more like, he ain't have no at that time, he was one like he was more concerned about his feet than upper body. So at that time, like, I had all mechanics as in, get low, top, like, because at that time, Bruck up, it's like, it's other ways of how the way you can move your body for you to have body movements and body structures. Like, that's just
right.
all part of who you trying to create yourself to be. So it's like, all right, let me start to smoothing up my mechanics and the way I dance instead of me trying to look all rough. After I get off the floor, my shirt twisted, dirty stains. Like I was seeing dancers doing that. Like they'll have nice outfits or they'll have stuff on and they'll put hole in their clothes and tore up their sneakers and stuff like that. So I'm like, nah, let me be the opposite. And then let me look like I have more control. Because a lot of times when people was dancing, like, they get busy and they get destructive, but it's like sometimes it's like it don't coordinate with their style a little bit. They going too much out the box, or it
Mm,
don't, it's just too much. So it's like let me make it look my style look more unique, like, smoother. Like, it's like, it's like how do we do it? So it's like, but a lot of that come from me, like, basically back then parties they used to have small spaces. So in my room, I used to have like a small room. So it's like that's what got my techniques and my style crazy because dancing in small spaces is like, once you get that down pat, it's like, you go crazy. And at that time, a lot of people they couldn't dance in small spaces.
yeah, it seemed
So,
like that back in the day, according to a lot of narratives from dancers from your era, where it's like, again, a lot of them necessarily before they will find their identity is like they moving off the starter kit and everybody's necessarily doing their best to beat each other put to a particular move or
right,
a set choreography, etc. So a lot of the spaces were very small versus it seemed like by the time y'all styles started to increase, upgrade, and evolve, that's when it would seem like the circle will open up because now dancers have more to offer. So instead of it just being a airwalk or a healing toe, now people are full out gliding on you. Like
right,
people body work is they two-step done took them around the world. So it's like, oh no, we need to open this. So
right. That's when it coming with Rike because
mm,
what my biggest inspired, yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. See, when they went into the feet work, it's like, all right, when I saw like, all right, let me start to be light on my feet and let me start to like go crazy. Rike had a big buzz already on Ralph Avenue. Like, yo, Rike, he go crazy with the feet.
mm,
So at that time, that's when I started to go on Ralph Avenue side. Like, like I said, G Baby, he moved on that side. So I started to run across other dancers over there. So Rike, his cousins, the twins, and them, they was just crazy with the feet work, body work, and all that. But Rike had the major buzz, as in feet control, uh, all types of structure. So when I saw him dance, as in controlling his feet, I was like, okay, this is what other guys ain't doing on my side, and this is not, these are not the things that people are hitting. So even when people were saying, "Oh, the airwalk and the ghost walk was picking up," you still had to have that feet control because you could have that, and they say, "Well, that's feet." And I'm like, "Nah, it's certain ways of how you have body movements with your feet control."
right.
So that's what yeah. You see what I'm saying? So it's like once you get the techniques in your body control from your lower body to your feet, So that's just like if you do a slow airwalk and you could push your body a certain way to move your airwalk a certain way with your upper body, it'll make it'll make it look wavier. So it's like, let me make it look like this to make it more smooth. So
Mm,
it's like, yeah, so it's like, let me, so I'm like, all right, if he doing it like this, let me go ahead and do it like that. So it's like, so when you see that, it's like, okay, that's not something what he's doing, or y'all not doing the same thing. Because it's not. It's like I added on or I put a curriculum to something to make it look more different, as in how the way I wanted in my patterns.
right.
So, like I said, though, a lot of people wasn't too concerned about their feet. Everybody was
Mm.
worried about how hard they could pop. Because back then it was how hard you could pop. You know what I'm saying? That was the
Facts. I
crazy
remember
thing.
even being young,
Yeah, your
you'd be
face,
like,
yeah. Your face had to come off to mean something. So it's like, everybody wasn't worried about being more or less smooth and all that. So it was like when I brought that to the table, people was like, nah, that's what made my style more fire. And then it makes it seem like you have such more control. So that's the whole big thing that I keep. It's like once you have a body control, so then that's when I go back into when I used to dance in my room.
mm,
So if I got my bed here, I got my chair there, I gotta kind of slide or I gotta pop or lean a certain way to to move my body a certain way for me not to hit it. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, your
mm,
shadow dancing. You know, I used to dance to the wall sweat. You know what I'm saying? Like shadow dancing, like that was a major thing. Like you just look at your shadow dance in the dark. I did that every now and then, but that really didn't help me. And then with my feet work, I used to like kind of like airwalk on the stairs. Like, your steps. I used to
yeah.
airwalk on each step coming down the steps to get my legs strong. Besides
Mm,
riding the bike, so those was tools that was keeping my legs strong for me to have those good glide. Not even glides because I wasn't a glider like that, like it's a later, but the feet control, that was a lot of that. I used to love when it used to snow and you get that hard ice. I used to practice on ice all the time, so that's what got me light on my feet.
mm,
So yeah, a lot of people wouldn't think of that. So once like I used to love the winter time. Like just I get on the edge of the curve, and I used to just slide and glide on the edge of the curve, not to try to trip or nothing. So it just kept. That's what I got the real strong balance and know how to have the body control, feet control, crazy like movement. So I inspired a lot of people with the feet work. So that's what made
yeah, I
me
mean,
unique.
they talking about it. They definitely talking about it. So, you know, there's been a lot of rumbling going on, out here. And again, you being the connector to a lot of these individuals and stories, you get to necessarily, tell your spin on what was really taking place with a lot of people. So you showed the Brooklyn dance community and the many people abroad that love dancing files, like you brought out receipts where you showed us necessarily, like, while Icky name was being mentioned from other parties that we'll get to later, you produce receipts like from y'all youth, y'all young teenage years and stuff like that.
Right.
How did you and Icky cross paths?
Um. At first, like I said, when you dancing, you all over the hood. Like, you know what I'm saying? So at that time, like I said, Icky was more like, everybody known for being on Albany, 35 Park area. That's all like Decatur area, stuff like that. You know, basketball ever. Like, I knew him for playing basketball at first. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Icky was yeah, I know him for playing basketball and all that. Him and his cousin Dave, shout out to his cousin and all that. But like through other dudes on Albany, like a lot of those cats, like I said, when I was going to 258, they already knew who I was in junior high school. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying? So it all still lead back to Albany Ave and other areas in the style. So once you already got your name booming through there, then another area is Stuyvesant and Decatur. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my son Fat Ant. You know what I'm saying? I start, he looked at me as one of the good dude, get busy with the dancing and all that back in the 258 era. I was 10 and 113 at that time too. Um, So I was like, like I said, I was moving around. So it's like, once you like, I was always riding through people blocks. So it's like once they see me, oh, that's the dancer. Oh, that's him from 258. Or he from Hancock. So it's like they already knew. I already put that, that name down as in they know who I was, as in coming up on the Brook Up. Like I said, a lot of people they had certain mechanics, but it's like I kind of was getting advanced fast. So it's like, my buzz was just getting out there a little faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you met Icky, as you just stated, like he was more so involved in sports, particularly basketball. When did he turn into a dancer that he will necessarily become the dancer that a lot of people will start to revere as one of the greats?
Um, don't get me wrong, like he popped out, like I said, one or two parties. Like at that time, Herkimer and Herkimer parties was jinking. Herkimer and Brooklyn parties. Herkimer and Fulton, everybody know about the Herkimer basement parties. But he popped up to one or two of those events. But before that, we're really to my acknowledgement to what I see, like, when I ran across with Darrell and Black, like like I said, house parties was crazy at that time. So it was a female that was throwing a party onshore Albany. And it wasn't a lot of people that attended. It was raining that night, actually. And like I said, like Ick and all of us, we know each other from around the way. So, we chopping it up and regular stuff. We sitting in the hallway, whatever. And we was up in the building and we happened to see Darrell and Black Chris. They coming down Fulton, coming from Troy Avenue way. So they stopped right there on Albany and Fulton. So we over there yelling like that's at that time, when it was empty, like you trying to bring people to the party. You're like, yo, it's
Right.
party up. You know what I mean? They had same thing, kind of the similarity what I was telling you about with Princeton. They had a whole group of people. So we see them, him, Black. I mean, it's Darrell and Black. And it's like, they had females, a couple dudes. So we like, yo, come on, come upstairs. So at that time, it's me, Gordon, couple cats. Ike was up in the building, you know. So boom, DJ was up in there. He started to run the tunes. Like, it didn't go straight into the tunes, but it's like, it's gathering, hip hop little music playing. And like I said, once the tunes came on, that's when Gordon hit the circle. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm always put him in the mix because then he always plays the in and out. Because at that time, like I said, Bruck up in it was in the beginning, it was like a lot of tag teaming. Like
Mhm.
that's what made us and we was in advance as in tag teaming moves is crazy. Like a lot of people in the groups, they ain't had groups or like partners and stuff like that. So we was always like a two-man and then it go into a one-man. So we finally made them, finally kind of met that match that night. Boom. We up in the, they come up, Darrell, Black, the crew, whatever they had. And so, we up in there, we mingling around, chilling, tunes come on. So now Gordon, he hits the circle. He going crazy. So now out of nowhere, Darrell and Black, they come in with a routine.
Mm.
Out of nowhere. Tunes playing, all that. Cousin, his cousin, a couple other people, they all in the building, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So they hit the tag, the double team. So like to me, go, we're like, oh shit, these niggas don't even know we the kings of the tag team shit. So we're like, oh, they want to do tag team. So that's when we saw the Charlie Chapman, Darrell and Blackie. They hit the tag team Charlie Chapman. Then they hit the dance called the Cowboy. Some shit Darrell had called Cowboy. Shit was crazy.
Mm.
So, so mind you, like I said, it's something different here across the tracks. You know what I'm saying? We from the Star, he from Crown Heights. Same thing like Princeton. All these niggas from across they across the tracks. So at that time, like I said, they hitting some shit on us. You know what I'm saying? Boom, we going back and forth now. So now it's like, all right, we do the double team. See, that's what we was getting at them because our double teams was crazy. But then, like I said, even on the one-on-one, but like I said, it was a different breed when we saw Darrell and Blackie Bus. They had a whole different style. We had our style, you know what I'm saying? But they had a whole different style. Like it's like, okay,
Mm.
damn, them niggas, but we going back and forth. Now, mind you, we clean up the style. Everybody knew us we cleaning up niggas in the style. Cleaning niggas up for real. Like back then, it's like, it wasn't no competition at the while. It was like, all right, we getting tired of niggas. It's like, niggas over there, you murder them, I know, it was just corny. So when we ran across these guys, it was like, oh shit, what the fuck is these niggas? So I'm like, hey, so we going back and forth. Then it was crazy. We go back and forth. So I guess they felt like, to this day, me and Darrell, it go back and forth who won this and that and third, but it was just dope. It was good entertainment. So we had to battle 3 times before we had unity. We
Mm.
battled at, yeah, that's when, like I said, at that time, that's when Aki, I felt like at that time, like, because he was only at that event. And then, at that time, he went off adventure where he went. And like I said, when Darrell and Blackie, we met them, we battled right there at Albany. Then we battled in a center right there on Troy and Fulton. That's when he had Brandon. Now, mind you, when we always was battling these niggas, it was like 4 of them. I felt like we always was outnumbered,
You and
but I
Gordon.
just felt like yeah, we was every time. Like those Crown Heights boys was that, yeah. It was Tim, Darrell, Brandon, Packy, Blackie. It's 4 dudes against me and Gordon. So that tell you something right there. It's like you clashing 4 dudes against two. You feel me? So that's when I first met Brandon, Brandino. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this Charlie Brown, big head ass nigga? That's my man. I love him. Shout out to Brandino. You know what I mean? That's my
Big
man.
ups
Like, what the fuck?
Brandon. Brandino.
I always say this to this day. I'm like, what the fuck is this Charlie Brown, big head ass nigga? Work. He had to, him. Now, if you want to talk about vibration, popping, he had he he had that, like, he was like trying to find himself at that time, but it's like he had the material, but he just saying, he had to find himself. But when
Mm.
he popped out there, yeah, he was like his shit boom boom, like his face. And even my dude Scholar is, like I said, there was a lot of dancers out there. Scholar, my son Louis, he from Fulton. My son Louis, another dude. Louis face crazy. Boom. He the one that see, everybody talking about creative, man. Man, we had dancers like the piano. My son Lou used to hit the piano. That shit used to look crazy. There was a dance he used to do. The shit, the nigga used to make it. No, not the piano. I'm sorry, the typewriter. Like them niggas used to do some shit with his face blown. I don't know. Like I said, the blown up face. Like a lot of people was taking like broke up image certain things, but they'd take piece by piece for shit. So while he doing the piano, his face blown up. By the way he doing it, the shit look crazy.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's like everybody, using they little shit that they really started up. So, but like I said, with Brandon, he was just different. Like, you know what I mean? And his vibration. He do. And that's another thing what they was doing over there. Him and Blackie and them niggas, they was on that vibration shit. Like, so, like, they was doing a lot of certain things that was like, you know what I mean, was different from us. Like we had the crazy lean all the way down to the floor. Like we had the arm waves, which, like, with Prince and a lot of people were saying. So like I said, like it's like a bite for bite. So when niggas like, oh, I'm like, nah, when you cut to the stop, we had recipe too. Back
Mm.
waves, all that. Like we had to cook it in the pot. So like when that, like, like I said, it just you had to get it out of certain people. George, like he was doing a scorpion. Crazy. He did that shit. He did that shit in front of the high. He's another one that danced underneath the high. Milton, he's another one. He went with One Love. Like these are dudes that was like on the early startup. Rossi and Quan, you know what I'm saying? Then it was Rossi and Milton. So if you see when they say Milton dance with One Love, but they don't know the history about Milton. Like Milton been outside. You feel me? So a lot of people that I acknowledge like that is like people don't give shine on or people don't acknowledge. But those are the guys that, that had that big input from the start.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So um, but after that, like I said, bro, like we battled after we did them 2 battles, then we battled again. We battled again on Fulton. And then after that, you know what I'm saying? After we locked in with that battle, it was like, I was like, fuck that. Let me go. So I'm the one that really got the connect. That's what made me branch like, yo, let me find out where the fuck these niggas at. I'm tired of these niggas from the star. I need to see what these niggas in Crown Heights, because these niggas got some sauce over here too.
Mm.
So yeah. But the crazy thing about that was that's when I was going to Martin Luther King. From Martin Luther King, that's when I went to Lafayette High School. That's out there in Coney Island. So when I went to high school, when I went to Lafayette High School, I happened to, like I said, I was getting my name known all over the hood. So now I'm trying to get my name known in Coney Island. So I happened to be dancing. I danced in the staircase. So that at that time that happened to be Black Chris' cousin. Now, how I recognize, like, I didn't even know this was Black Chris' cousin, but I recognized the hat Black Chris was wearing at one of the parties. You feel what I'm saying? It was a polo hat that Blackie wore. So I happened to walk up to him, like, shout out to his cousin Mo. I'm like, yo, you know this dude named Black Chris? So mind you, so Black Chris' cousin, they twins. You know what I'm saying? He got a girl twin, and a boy twin. So they both pulled it. So there they like, yeah, who you? So yeah, I battled him. So cause now me going now, so he like, what? That's my cousin. That's my cousin. So I'm like, yeah, I battled your cousin. He said, well, you ain't battle my cousin. That my cousin murdered. So now he talking mad shit to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like that's his cousin. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know, he gonna talk shit. Like, you from the hikes and shit like that. I'm like, yo, I battled your cousin. So I'm like, yo, what your cousin said. So that's how I got the link up to know where Black stayed. Because the same day that I linked up with his cousin, I said, no, nigga, you gonna take me to your cousin crib. So when he brought me to Black Chris crib, me and Black was, me and him was best friends, from then. You know what I'm saying? Like, off the battle, from me going to that high school, you know what I'm saying? Like just off a hat. Like, you never forget nothing. But I just recognized the hat that he was wearing. And it went from that just the conversation to find out that actually was his cousin to make this shit legendary. That's just crazy. Like, you know what I mean? So that, me and him, like once we locked in, that's how I started to get around and know more about the hikes, like Darrell and Ski, stuff like that. You know.
Okay.
I ain't know Ski had that much impact over there on that side like that until I started to roll over there because, that's his stomping ground. So yeah. Hmm.
So one thing I noticed that y'all have in common from listening to your story and many others, you would find yourself on Franklin Avenue. What was it like being on Franklin Avenue with dancers like Two and Ski and the rest of his comrades that's over there?
Well,
Because everybody, from what I noticed in my research, is like you said earlier, a lot of dancers from different sides of Brooklyn started to develop their own approaches in doing the Bruck Up.
mhm.
So again, everybody's necessarily learning from each other from the time that they would see different. Like, oh, that's what you're doing. I'm gonna take a little piece of that from you and add it to this, and vice versa, and the style keeps growing. Other than that, what was it like you running to Franklin Avenue and seeing what that structure was like?
Well, the funny thing about that, what made it more connect like that, I'm about to put like it's crazy because when I started to be around Darrell and Black and them guys, like I said, Ski was still like a walk through. Ski was like, he'll pop out when he pop out. But what really stand out with me was with the tour. Remember I told you that I saw a tour dance in Empire. So when I started to be around Darrell, you know, um, I started to see the similarities of the styles. Like Darrell, like come to find out, Tour was teaching Darrell. And I
Right.
never knew that. Right. I never knew that. But
Darrell
remember,
said he
I knew
kidnapped him.
he kidnapped him. So when I saw him dancing with Gordon in Empire, and I started to see how they was dancing, it was like, oh snap! Like I never knew it was his teaching to Tour King to Darrell Craig.
Mm.
So when I started to hang around Darrell, I started to like, Darrell Craig was one of the labbing headquarters. A lot of people ain't want to go on Albany projects back then. Like, Albany wasn't, yeah. But when you go in there, when you go in 1400, like when you go in two Brett, it definitely was legendary there. It was just like a lot of dancers popped through there that was really like, you know, put holes in niggas' pants and all that type of shit. Like, so when I started to be around Darrell, I started to see like more dancers start to interact with him. And then I saw Tor come pull up to his crib. I saw Ski come to to Darrell crib. In the same matter, like Darrell, Blackie and Ski, they battle.
Hmm.
So when Blackie was on his upcoming rising, because Darrell and Blackie, you know what I'm saying, that was, they all was students, like, that was Darrell's student, Blackie's student, Darrell and Brandon, I guess, you know what I'm saying, at the moment. So when I came in, I started to like Blackie and myself started to be more like like practicing, and then Brandon came in the mix. So it's like that was like my hub, and then I have sessions with Darrell personally, or we all a lab up at Darrell crib. So it's like we have a group lab, or sometimes me and Darrell have a personal lab, and then sometimes Tor pull up. We have a 3-man lab. So it's like, okay, we all start to connect, but then it's like it's crazy he from Franklin. So I really didn't know too until Darrell took me to Franklin. So
Mm.
when so he told me, oh, when you thought the skis was nice, you thought the tours was nice, you thought, Prince and all these guys nice. Let me take you to a dude that's crazy. So, like I said, we was on a little mission or whatever the case may be. Um, we pull up to Franklin. You know what I'm saying? Just regular joint, you know what I'm saying? Summer joint, the Berg shit popping off. So as we get up in there, he introduced me like, yo, this is my dude too. Saw Racer, saw Dennis. I mean not Dennis, saw Racer. I saw, like I said, what's his name, man? Ed, you know what I'm saying? Definitely two though, because two like and then two crib, he like on the first floor. So it's like I don't know. Like when you come in his crib, bro, like his fucking living room, that shit look like a that nigga had a big ass dance floor, my nigga. Like it's like his living room was so hard to explain, but he had so much space, and he was a DJ. Like he had a
Mm.
DJ set. So when I came in there, it's like as soon as I came in there, the director asked me, he's like, yo, show my man some shit. And my nigga, the shit that I saw that nigga do. It like when I saw him, it was like mind blowing. It was like like I said, it's like you put all your time into some shit. Like I told you, like the dancing time back then, it's like you can't really put your thumbtack on it because if you say yo, I'm number one, somebody gonna blow your whistle out because you had niggas that wasn't even you ain't know that'll clean you up.
Mm.
I didn't saw it witness firsthand. So for me to come over here, he got a name and he had a little click. Like I said, like his three horsemen. Like when he bust and I saw them bust, I said, oh, nah, niggas gotta go back to the lab. Like when I saw that, I went and bought I went and bought three CDs off that. I said, nah, I gotta step my shit up. Like, yeah, like, and then it's like, nah, man, like, I gotta do better than this. Like, you know what I mean? Even when you feel like you top tier, it's like it's always somebody that'll like, shut it down. So, but then the funny thing about that, when we came out the crib, we see Prince going in there.
Mm.
So I look at Darrell, he looked at me, he laughing, he said, yeah, he be teaching him too. So I'm like, what the fuck? So from there, I'm like, but mind you, like I said, Prince, like we enemies, like on the dancing situation, like I said, like, because after me and Prince on this battle underneath the high, we battled at I battled Prince on Pacific and Franklin.
Mm.
The big building. Yeah, he know about that. The brown building. I forgot. One of his homegirls, like I said, like they had all the chicks. They used to go to Clara Bar in Prospect Heights right there and all that type of shit. That nigga made me ride up to the bike. I mean, this nigga had me ride up there to really really pop up to see what's good. See, that's one thing like about me, like my networking. Like once I really, once we going back and forth, we back and forth. We gotta figure this shit out or something. Like what's going on? Like we gotta know what's going on. So like once we battled on Pacific and Franklin, like I said, it was him being like that. They had their crew. Like you know what I'm saying. Who else? Booth, DJ Booth was there. Reef, that's what I'm saying. Sharif, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Reef, you know what I'm saying? Reef was all in the mix, He was more around that structure too. And it was dope because he was from the stop.
Mm.
So for him to to be around those guys, it was like, oh, like, and then he being around Ski. But at that time, Ski was a one-man army. So it's like, he just moving around as Roshan. So it's like you had Ski over here, then it's like you run over here, the Franklin side on the other side, you dealing with Prince and Benny, and you dealing with, you know what I'm saying, Blue and all these guys, you know what I'm saying, Milton, all these guys. So it's like you running into dancers now in the Heights. I ran, I battled them over there in Pacific and Franklin. Then we ran across them on St. John's and Nostrand, Prospect and Nostrand. So it's like the same way how I built, like how Gordon and myself built up when we was going back and forth with Blackie and Darrell. That's the same way how we was with Prince and them. So it's
Mm,
like those was the major hitters. Like we was going back and forth. Besides, if you going back to the star, you might have to run across Rican, the twins. Like I said, uh, you got Lou, you got Lou, you got a couple other people. You know what I'm saying? You got, Rossi. You know what I'm saying? My dude Pop. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of dudes that with no names. Then you got dudes with names. Sean and them. To them, like they was upcomers, like they was over there, getting their name known and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't like a move around structure for them until like later on. You feel what I'm
right,
saying? But like just the heavy hitters, like the top 5, 7 dudes that I named before them, like, those was the top structures. And but at the same time though, when Iggy, like, we're gonna spin on him. Let me get this a little bit. When his name came up as in that situation, that's when I was coming out my crib and I happened to go around there to Sean House because at that time, like I said, like, that was my dog. I got pictures of that. You see him. I was in the mix trying to get him in the loophole, and he happened to mention Icky. So mind you, I already knew Icky. So it's like he like, yo, Icky be in front of the record shop, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, the record shop. Now, mind you, the record shop on Fulton and Nostrand, that's a no record shop. Like me and Gordon always used to go up there, dance, or whatever. A lot of a lot of people go up there, not dancers, but like that was one of our major stomping grounds that we got our name up. People knew us from dancing from the record shop.
mm,
So Icky, like once we heard him up there, it's like, oh word, like fuck it, we'll pop up there. So Gordon and myself, we popped up there to Fulton. So at that time, you know what I'm saying, that's when Icky was telling me, like, yo, I'm outside. So I'm like, whoa, he like, yeah. He said, yo, I got some, I got some shit. Cause back in the days, like that was the major thing that when you used to roll up on niggas always ask you, like, yo, show me some shit. Show me
right.
some shit. So that was the first thing, like, yo, you got some new shit. I know you got some new shit. So at that time, that's when, he showed me some shit. You know what I'm saying? But even though if his starter kit was a bigger boost, like it passed a lot of people. It's like, oh shit, like, son been studying, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, that's when he brought up, the first class situation and, you know, um, he trying to really get his feet wet, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I was like, yo, bro, like, we support him. So it was more of like, we took him, it wasn't like we took him in, like that was my dog. So it was like, you know what I'm saying? Like you on it, we on it. Like it's like, and plus on top of that, like we best our dudes. Like by me going back and forth, like by me being a networker, I already knew what was going over there in the Heights. I'm like, yo, they got a lot of niggas over there.
Mm,
Like a lot of people in the style was dancers, but they had highlights, but they wasn't really moving around. See, them Crown Heights niggas, they ain't go front. They start to move around a little bit. It's like, so it's like, nah, we need to start to move around. So it's like before, like, it was just like a two-man click, or if you meet up, or if you that top dancer, you dance at a block party or event. But they was over there trying to make some type of movements. Like, so, you know, I couldn't let that happen like that.
mm.
Nah.
So there was another individual that, came down to y'all sides from East New York after coming from his native land in Trinidad. So, what was your experience when you first ran into Aku? Like, what was that like? Because even from, listening to him explain his narrative, and the more and more, he chooses to explain himself, you get to necessarily put together in your mind in real time necessarily what a person was doing, especially when they're stating that they were dancing before necessarily Bruck Up. Dancehall would really impact them to necessarily further their look